Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 30 of your Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. Today's episode is Your Emotions Are Your Remote Control, or the clicker if you're old and you say clicker instead of remote control. So, and I know this will shock you, a cat walking around that may cause us some noise. And he may add a contribution. He's pretty noisy. Juniper Hoot is my black cat, and he is got an opinion about everything, sort of like his mama. So today I want to talk to you about the how. Any coach, any teacher, let's say every coach, every teacher, every therapist, and all of us always ask how. We want to know how to do it. That's great. You want something different in your life. How do you do it? It's hard to answer that question in a way that's going to make sense because we want a magic pill. We really don't want to know how because the how requires daily awareness, daily practice, some temporary discomfort. So we can say how and we can know how and still not do how. Because the how is not fun, right? We want it quick, fast. We want to be able to change the channel. So what I want to talk to you about today is it really is a lot easier than we're making it out to be. In human design, you can Google if you don't know what human design is. You have a strategy and an authority. The strategy is the how, and the authority in your chart is like validation and verification for the how. So that can make things easier because when you're grinding on your regular pattern or your familiar bad feeling, you can say, okay, well, this isn't how my system is supposed to work, so I'm just not going to do this anymore and go take a nap or something until you can break the habit. But what I was thinking about today is how easy it is for us to change channels. We pick up our remote control if we don't like what we're watching, and we change the channel, which, sorry to say, or sorry, not sorry, I changed the channel pretty quick when I tried to watch Game of Thrones. I know it's over and a lot of people are in mourning, and I get that. Like, I seriously had a crisis when Star Trek The Next Generation quit making new episodes. Although, in case you haven't heard, there's a new series coming that's just Picard. What? What a gift. When we're watching TV and we want something different, we pick up the remote control and we change the channel. We don't make a big deal about it. We don't fuss and argue about it. We might say, ooh, this show sucks. I'm going to watch something different. Let me surf around and click, 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 click until I find something that feels good to me or engages me. We can do that same thing with our emotions. We have a wide variety of emotional energies available to us, and they are just energies. And back in, I think, episode 7, around in there, I was talking a lot about how addicted we can get to our emotions. When you're addicted to an emotion, you really resist the simplicity of the how. Your mind really doesn't want to give up its emotional cocaine or emotional pot. It doesn't want to give that up because it's tied into your survival as far as your system is concerned. Okay? It's not logical. It's beyond the realm of logic and in the realm of chemical addiction, brain chemistry addiction. And there's no judgment in that because your brain is just doing what it's been programmed to do. Change the channel. When you find that you are resistant to changing the channel, you know you're stuck in an addiction. Well, I'm not going to say stuck because you're not stuck. You can get out of it. And let's say you're engaging in addictive thoughts that create familiar, that create chemicals that give you a sense of being safe and familiar. It wraps you up in your familiar bad feeling quilt that has a patch of this incident and a patch of that incident and another patch with this piece of a story and a different patch with that piece of a story. And you just wrap yourself all up in it and you feel all cozy and miserable, or all cozy and comfortable and angry, or all cozy and comfortable and fake. Fake can be an addiction. Pretending, not pretending in like the creative way, but not letting yourself be who you really are. Fear of approval. Approval can be an addiction. The need for approval can be an addiction. So when I'm talking to someone, a client, friend, family, and I've said repeatedly, this is how you do it, and they still don't do it, but they still ask for how, then I know I'm talking to an addicted mind, and there's not really any point in engaging that. So depending on who it is, I'll just broken record. Oh, you got to have a daily practice. You've got to meditate. You've got to choose to do something different and then actually do it. Or sometimes I just stop talking altogether, including to myself. If my mind is grinding on axe number 42, a familiar bad feeling, and I'm stuck in it and I can feel the stuckness and I'm aware of the stuckness, which means I'm not really stuck, but I'm having trouble shifting it, I just stop. I stop trying to change it and I say, okay, I get it. This is a really familiar groove that feels really good and safe right now. And outside of us, scary things are happening. So, okay, I get it. Let's just be here. And of course, as soon as I drop into that level of compassion and welcoming, it shifts. But you can't fake that. That's changing the channel. I'm going to the compassion channel so that I can welcome and really be present with everything that's driving my need to engage in an addictive pattern, whether that's behavior or thought, so that I can have the feeling of safety. A lot of you know my husband and I are in the process of divorce. He's in Colorado working, and I haven't filed the paperwork yet, and we're amicable about it. We're still friends. But I noticed that when he left, I was really struggling with food cravings in the evenings again, and I hadn't been because I intermittent fast, which generally speaking, I don't have cravings anymore, not insulin-driven cravings. But I noticed that around 4 or 5 o'clock, I was really, really craving sugar and carbs. You know, potatoes, whatever. Potatoes, Oreos, who cares? It's a carb. A carb is a carb. And it took me a couple of weeks to figure out that I was really getting anxious at that approach of twilight time. That I was starting to just get a little anxious, that I was out in the woods alone, which, I've done before. It's not really a thing. But then it was a thing again. And so it was really weird. It's like I had to transition back into telling myself that I'm fine, whether it's dark or light. Just reminding myself, you used to go in the real mountain woods and stay there for days with evidence of bears and mountain lions all around, and you were okay with that. I had to coach myself through it. And as soon as I made that adjustment, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. It's a normal human thing to have a touch of the anxiety, a touch of the anxieties at twilight, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. That's when animals start getting ready for bed. That's when our bodies are aware that night is coming. And primally, night is a scary thing. We're vulnerable at night. But when you know that's what it is, it doesn't have to drive any weird behavior. You really see it in Alzheimer's patients. They call it sundowners syndrome. People get restless and anxious, and sometimes angry and combative as twilight comes. But that's what I mean. Like, if you have a daily practice and you're aware, then you can spend more time observing yourself with kindness and compassion as the part of you that's aware. So are you the anxiety, or are you the part that's aware that you're anxious? Are you the familiar bad feeling, or are you the part of you that's aware that you're engaging in your familiar bad feeling of failure or depression or self-pity, or I never get what I want, or, whatever it is, or I got to have a relationship, whatever it is for you. I'm going to die if I don't get a cigarette. I'm going to die if I have to feel this feeling. As far as I know, a feeling never killed anyone. Now, unaddressed feelings driving behaviors kills people every day. We have the power to change the channel. Our emotions are and let's try that again. Our emotions are our remote control. There was too many hours and hours. We have within us a remote control, and we can pick the emotions that are playing on the TV screen of our life. This might not be the best analogy, come to think of it. The first time that I thought of this a few minutes ago, and I was seeing a train track, but there's not as many people, I think, that are, if you've never lived near a train yard or by trains or thought about trains, and I don't know that the average person spends a lot of time thinking about trains, but trains are cool. And there's a switch. When a train's going down the track and they come to the train yard, there's a switch. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but it diverts the train from one track to the other. It literally, as the train's approaching a Y, the tracks move to move the train onto another track. And I was like, well, that's probably not a great analogy, but but then I was like, the remote control, we have that, and it really is that easy. The hard part is really getting comfortable with the feeling of a craving, the siren call to return to the familiar bad feeling place. That's the part where you have to commit, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to choose to break the pattern again and again and again. But I promise you, behavior modification is very well evidence-based. It's very strong evidence. The more you break the pattern, the more often you interrupt the cycle, the addictive cycle of negative emotion, driven by the addictive cycle of negative thought. You break the pattern, you break it, interrupt it. Those calls, those siren call temptations get further and further apart. And eventually you reach a tipping point where if you hear the call of depression, you are able to say, nah, I'm having too much fun over here. I used to do that depression thing, but yeah, I don't really like it. I've changed my channel. I'm watching a different show now. I'm living a different reality now. This is not about true clinical depression. If you have true clinical depression, you need to see someone and work with a professional so that you can feel better, feel good again. I'm talking about the habit of mopiness or melancholy. Now, I think I'll always be a melancholy person. I do think that's just some people are. And actually, in human design, there's a channel there's melancholy gates and channels. It's just a thing. It's nothing. It actually produces a pretty good bit of art. But you want to be the one choosing. This is about choice. This is about remembering that you're the one aware that you're doing a thing. Therefore, you always have the ability to choose. And if you're not choosing and you're not consistent and you're not committing, your mind is in the driver's seat and you're a slave to it. You're trapped by your own mind. And compassion is the key to that, to changing that. Fighting against it is a losing battle, and you'll always lose to your unconscious drivers. But what you can do is welcome it and approach with compassion and acknowledge it. And be with it and breathe with it. When we feel stuck on something, that's addiction. When we've heard time and time again how to fix it and we don't do it, we won't even try it. Like, I meditated. I went to a meditation retreat and nothing got any better, so meditation doesn't work. No, that's an addicted mind hanging on to its familiarity and safety. If you think you're committed and you keep a log and then you find yourself dropping off after 5 days or 3 days or sometimes 1 day, and then thinking that technique doesn't work, that's an addicted mind hanging on to its familiarity and its comfort zone, whatever you want to call it. You can't magically think your way out of it. You can't wish it was different. Wishing it was different will not get you there. To different, it won't get you there. It will not put your train onto a new track. It won't click the channel of your emotional remote control. You have to do that. And it is uncomfortable. And also satisfying. When you make it through a craving and you don't engage, that's really satisfying. When you do that over and over and over again, the satisfaction becomes more rewarding than the bad place, than the familiar bad place, bad feeling place. You start to seek the satisfaction of achievement over the familiarity of the wallowing. This is where journals can be helpful and also really depressing. So when you go back and look at your journal and you're like, damn, I'm still writing about the same thing I was writing about 10 years ago. Whoa. What in the F? What the what? You can see evidence of your addicted mind right there in your own handwriting on the paper. So it's a little like, oh, hell no. Don't tell me. I've been fooling myself for 15 years. Yeah, you can fool yourself for an entire lifetime. You can get to the end of your life still wishing and hoping that things were different, that you could think differently, that you could do differently, that you could experience life differently. You can think and wish and hope all the way till you're dead. Or you can do something different today. Or you can say, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm choosing something else. When I want to get on social media and compare myself to others, I am going to put the phone down. I am not going to engage in the dopamine addiction of that nonsense anymore. When I feel a craving for food and I'm not hungry, I am not going to eat. I am going to ask myself what I need. What am I feeling? And then I'm going to feel it, because the feeling won't kill me. And overeating will. You have to grab yourself by the scruff of the neck, give yourself a kind and gentle shake, and knock it off. Care enough about yourself that you won't engage in something that's harming you. And negative, chronic thought patterns are hurting you. They are hurting you. You are engaged in self-harming behavior. And when you know better, you can't ever unknow it. So then you need to get honest with yourself when you're choosing to hurt yourself by engaging in old, shitty behaviors and thoughts. And that's okay. You can do it with kindness. And if you're doing it with harshness, that is not your heart speaking. That is the negative parent in your head talking. Your soul communicates with kindness and endless love and compassion, and it will wait for you forever with the same amount of love and kindness and compassion for what you're doing. I would never be angry with a wounded dog, even if that dog lunged at me and ripped my arm off. I would not be angry at it. I would wish that it had not ripped my arm off, and I would not put myself within biting distance again, but I would never be mad at it. We do stuff out of pain and fear of pain. The pain is long gone. The shameful event, the painful event, the traumatic thing that happened is long gone. But we resurrect it and we grind it and we get hooked in a loop, and that is okay. We're trying to stay safe, and there is no room in that for judgment. There is no room for anger. There is no room for shame on you. No. You're just doing a thing and you'd like to do something different. You're just watching Game of Thrones, which is terrifying and scary. And you just want to watch The Office instead. Or whatever is on these days that's funny. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You're just watching a terrifying show and you just want to watch a happy show. That's all it is. You just are fascinated by your familiar bad feeling place, and you want to switch over to be fascinated by the world around you. The light as it hits the leaves on trees, the sound of children playing in a sprinkler, the sound of the crow outside adding his opinion, his or her opinion to this podcast. You want to be fascinated by the feel of the air coming in and out of your lungs and the recognition that you have a body and this body is temporary. Make use of it. It will let you do whatever. You can treat it horribly or you can treat it with love and respect. We have to choose, but we can't just think about choosing. You actually have to stop doing the behavior or start doing a different behavior. It's a little of both. A little from column A, a little from column B. You stop letting yourself play social media madness, and instead you go out for a walk, even though every fiber of your being is telling you to pick that phone back up. It can feel literally like a visceral craving to pick up your cell phone again, and you have to say, I love you so much, and I'm not going to let you do it. We're not doing that anymore because it hurts. And we don't do hurt in this house anymore. We don't allow our body to be victimized and brutalized by thoughts, by memories of the past being projected toward the future. We bring our attention back again and again. What is happening right now? What is the temperature? How does the air feel on your skin? Do you love the clothes that you're wearing, or are you pinched and uncomfortable and you've just gone numb and you don't even know what you feel anymore? You don't even notice that your clothing makes you want to scream and rip it off. Get aware of what's happening right now, and then your mind has no energy for past and future. You can train it like a puppy with kindness and love and compassion to focus here and now. You have to do. You can't just wish. You can't watch The Secret a million times. You can't read all the law of attraction stuff. You won't wake up one day just magically not interested in watching your scary life TV show. It doesn't happen like that. The work takes guts, takes courage, takes discipline and commitment. You have to want the new so much that the craving and the physical desire for the old can be kindly refused. For your own well-being. When you get to that tipping point and you're on the other side, the lure of that, at least that addiction, that addictive story is gone. Never to return. You may think about it, but you won't allow yourself to engage with it. You refuse the call of that particular demon. And you can make it fun. It doesn't have to be this white-knuckled grinding teeth experience. You can make it a game. You can laugh and with affection at your antics. You might start out white-knuckling, but I really encourage you to just look at it as, this is just a thing we do. It's just a thing. Just change the channel. Pick up the remote control and find a different show. All the complications we add to it is a mind rationalizing, staying hooked. All those gyrations and logic loops and merry-go-rounds of insanity, that's just a mind staying hooked. That's all it is. We can laugh about it. We can love it. Affectionate awareness. So we'll take a look. Where are you caught in the merry-go-round of madness? And will you choose something differently? Will you invite yourself to change the channel? Will you make a commitment that no matter what, you will not do the thing that hurts you? anymore, ever. Will you make that kind of commitment to yourself? I hope you do, because the world needs your joy so desperately. The world needs your clear, shining, whole light. By whole light, I mean the loving of your shadow as much as you love your light. The acceptance of the part of you that will do the most damnable things, and your acceptance of the part of you that would give your life for another. You would trade your life in exchange that someone else could live. That most noble part. Equally with the most notorious part. The naughtiest, ugliest part. That's what I mean by your wholeness. Your world needs your wholeness because we are split. We're separate. We're separated within ourselves. We're at war within ourselves. And the world is not going to reflect us anything different until we commit to stop hurting ourselves. Let me know if you need help with that. Human design is a great place to start. It's a place that gives the mind a structure to rest. And I'll just refer you to my website, thatmichellewolf.com. Human Design's at the top. Sovereign Storytellers is coming up. That's at the top. It's all right there. You can send me an email if you have questions, comments, concerns, info@thatmichellewolf.com. And think about the power you have holding your emotional remote control. The power you have to choose what you see, feel, and experience on a daily, moment-to-moment basis. All right? Think less, feel more. Think less, feel more. Think less, feel more. I'll talk to you next week.